This is video 8 for MPA100, Fundamentals of Music at Cal State Monterey Bay. I'm Dr. Ovens, and today's video is going to deal with two issues, scale degree names and intervals. So in your book, this issue is introduced from the key of C. So I've intentionally done mine in G to drive home the fact that everything I'm talking about today holds in every key. So in the key of G, the note G has lots of names. It's a G. We might say it's one of the scale, but it's also the tonic, and we've used that word before. That means it's home. When I play a G major scale, I want to get to the tonic. So G is the tonic. A has a name. It's called the supertonic. B is the mediant. The third degree of the scale is the mediant. The fourth degree, C in this case, is the subdominant, but that's not C, it's the fourth degree of the scale. The fifth degree of the scale is the dominant. We're going to find out the dominant is really important, as the name kind of implies. 5 goes to 1. It's a very big deal in this style. The sixth degree of the scale we call the submediant. The seventh, the leading tone, which we've talked about kind of a lot, because again, when we're building minor scales, we're always very focused on the idea that we need to be sure that we raise our leading tone in certain situations, because that goes to the tonic. So again, labeling this the tonic, this G up here, drives home the fact that in the key of G, every G is the tonic. Every A is the supertonic. Every B is the mediant, and so on and so forth. We'll be discussing these as we go. So right now we're just kind of introducing them. Again, like I've said many times, we're not going to memorize these things today, but we will build gradually. But these are very useful and important terms. The other thing we're talking about today is the relationship of two notes. So you'll see in my next stave here, I'll just go right to the second one because it's a little bit easier to explain what I'm talking about here. If I have a G and an A sounding at the same time, they create an interval called a major second. A major second is 2 half steps. If I have a G and a B playing at the same time, they form an interval called a major third. And you might notice it's a very pleasant sound. We call that a consonance. It's an imperfect consonance, but it's a consonance. And in this style, we generally prefer or value consonants. Dissonances tend to go to consonants. They're my second. I can kind of make it want to go to my major third. I have these two G's here because if two G's were sounding on two different instruments or two different people singing, we would call that a unison. If I have somebody playing a G and a C, that's a fourth. G and D, a fifth. G and E, a sixth. G, F sharp. Kind of a cool, very driving kind of an interval. A major seventh, and G, G, a perfect octave. Now you notice there is a numeric part of the term. 2 steps. It's a second, right? If I have a G and then a note 1 step away, so that's a second. If I go G, that's a third. So there's that part of it. But there's this other part of it that you'll notice that the second, the third, the sixth, and the seventh are called major, but the unison, the fourth, and the fifth, and the octave are called perfect. These are perfect consonances. It has to do with the way they relate in the overtone series. But for now, we just want to remember unisons, fourths, fifths, octaves are perfect consonances. Seconds are imperfect dissonances, and thirds are consonances. Sixths are consonances, and sevenths are dissonances. This will kind of all become clear as we go. What's interesting, we're going to talk about inversions of intervals later. But right now we can kind of just point out that the reason that the second and the seventh are kind of similar is because a second inverts to a seventh. If I play this G and this A, I can think of, for the moment, A being the sort of the home note, because if I play G and A here, that's a second. But if I keep the A, let me get my keyboard back here. I'm playing these two notes here. If I play G, A, that's a second. If I keep the A and then play the G up here, that's a seventh. So G and A thought of as a pair gives us that inversion pair of second and seventh. And that kind of helps to make clear why these two are distances. But a sixth and a third, those are also inversions of each. If I start on a G and I play a B, there's my third. If I keep the B and play the next G up, that's a sixth. So that kind of explains why these two are a pair. All right. Now, in your book, you're going to read about these, play them if you can at the keyboard, think about them, listen to them. We're going to go on now to the other kind of interval that we're introduced to right away, and that is if I again go back to G, and I go not to A natural, but to A flat, I call that a minor second. Half step, much more biting distance than a major second. There's a G-A, there's a G-A flat. Now I call that a minor second. If I go to G and I play a B natural, there's that. Major third. But if I go G, B flat, 3 half steps, I call that a minor third. It's a very different sound. And you'll notice this is the third that I would find in the key of G minor. So these things all relate to each other. A sixth in the key of G major was this, G up to E. A sixth in the key of G natural minor is that. There's my minor sixth. A major seventh, G up to F sharp. A minor seventh, like in the key of G natural minor. Very different sound. Now you'll notice, this last couple of things I'm going to do, if I, this down here kind of wraps it up, if I take a major interval and I make it smaller by a half step, it becomes a minor interval. A major second becomes a minor second. If I take a perfect interval, this perfect fourth, and make it smaller by a half step, we say it's a diminished fourth. I'll take it with the fifth. So perfect intervals made smaller become diminished. Major intervals made smaller become minor. A minor interval made larger by a half step, G to B flat, if I make it a G to B natural. Minor interval made larger by half step becomes major, and a perfect interval made larger becomes augmented. G to C is a perfect fourth. C to G sharp is an augmented fourth, a very different thing. And we'll stop there. Again, we'll build on these, read the book, practice with the workbook, or with your Artusi exercises, and look at the self-tests, and we'll carry on from there.